Hey everybody, Austin back again, continuing my Castlevania Let's Play Marathon. At first I thought about just moving up the series in order in which they appeared, which would have meant doing a Let's Play on Castlevania 2 next. But I figured, you know what, let's go ahead and jump ahead. I wanted to go ahead and take care of a more uncommon Castlevania game, and as you can see here, it is Castlevania Dracula X for the Super Nintendo. Now this game, from a collector and rarity perspective, it's a lot more difficult to get a hold of these days than it was, say, in the late 90s, and prices on this cartridge in particular have shot up big time. Whether I feel that's actually worth it or not is a totally different story altogether, but what you do have here is actually still a pretty damn solid Castlevania game. I don't feel it's the best in the series. I don't even really think it's up there in like the top 5, but it is a solid Castlevania game nonetheless. It's not on the same level as like the Game Boy Castlevania versions. It's still a pretty good Castlevania game, although I would definitely prefer Castlevania 4 or Bloodlines or obviously the original PC Engine Duo version of Dracula X over this version. So, as usual, we're going to go ahead and jump right into the game, but after letting this sort of intro and prologue, roll through. So, yeah, Dracula X on the Super Nintendo came out in '95. It was actually a relatively late release on the system. And you know what? A lot of those games from '95 and on, like some of the Capcom games especially, are relatively uncommon games on the Super Nintendo. I mean, by the time these games came out, the Saturn, the PlayStation, the 3DO, the Jaguar, all those systems were out on the market by that time. And so everyone was looking to the future. And, you know, games coming out on the Super Nintendo were not... Yeah, a lot of them didn't do that well, and Dracula X is one of them. And, you know, that makes sense, you know. Everyone wanted to get a PlayStation. Well, in other regions, not the US, people wanted to also get Saturns and whatnot, so... And then the Nintendo 64. So games like this oftentimes got overlooked. Yeah. This is actually sort of somewhat based on Dracula X from the Turbo Duo. Not really. It shares the same name, a lot of character sprites and animations. I think a boss or two is identical. But aside from that, this game is pretty much an entirely new game, you know, even though it shares the same name as the Duo version. Well, almost the same name. Dracula X for the Turbo Duo, which was the original release, came out in 1993 in Japan. Japan only, unfortunately, until recently on platforms like the PSP and then obviously the Wii's Virtual Console. But that was actually called Dracula X Rondo of Blood, or I think it was like Chino Rondo as the actual Japanese name. But yeah, this is sort of based on it, but not really. It's kind of like a strange hybrid or amalgamation of sorts. Again, Richter, our character in the blue suit here, he's the main character in this game, and he was the main character in Dracula X for the Turbo Duo. And then later he would make an appearance in Castlevania Symphony of the Night, or in Japan as it's called, Dracula X Nocturne in the Moonlight, for both the Saturn and the PlayStation. PlayStation first, Saturn later. So yeah, this is actually kind of a brand new game, so if you've played the Turbo Duo version before, but you've never played the Super Nintendo one, you know, you might like what you see here. The game's not nearly as deep or involved as the Duo version, which is really unfortunate, but it's still a solid Castlevania game. So now, the reason I've stopped here is I've actually wanted to sort of go over one of my gripes with this game. And this game, this specific version of the game, I do have some issues with, and which is why it's not, say, at like the top of my all-time favorite Castlevania list. And one of them is that right here I'm going to toss an axe at this bat, and he's not going to die. And I think this is the only Castlevania game where an enemy can be perched, you know, like a bat perched on the ceiling, and you can't hit him until he actually comes off of his perch. And that just strikes me as weird, because even in classic Castlevania games, like Castlevania 3, Castlevania 1, etc., Castlevania 2 doesn't really have enemies that do that. You know, like I just toss an axe onto him and he's not going anywhere. I have to wait for him to come off. It just seems it seems like in some ways this game moved backwards, even more so than the original couple of games in the original series. So it's not letting me do. You could do a backflip. Oh, you have to double tap it really fast. That's right. You could do a sort of backflip, and sometimes it'll actually get you up to a platform that you normally can't jump to. Like if I jump, see, if I try to jump to this platform above me, he's not going to latch onto it. But the backflip actually gives you a tiny bit of extra air, and sometimes you can actually end up getting, you know, speeding through the game a little bit quicker by doing that. Let's try it again. There we go. Just like that. So that's kind of neat. I like that. It's something I definitely use pretty frequently in this game. What's actually cool about the backflip is that it allows you to kind of move backwards while still attacking, and that can actually be pretty useful. Although you've got to get the timing just right. I'm having a hard time replicating it over and over. There we go, just like so. One other attack that I found to be pretty useful in this game is the you can sort of swipe and then tap down immediately. So you kind of do this thing where like you start attacking high, but you end up ducking and doing a low attack. And so kind of interesting. And I think you'll actually hit high for, you know, roughly at like a frame or two. So what you'll do is you'll end up hitting both high and low at the same time, which is kind of cool. Instead of just sitting here and attacking low like so. So you can kind of, again, you got to time it just right. It's literally like a frame or two after you hit the button, you tap down. So, okay. So, we've got some pretty basic level design here, nothing too special. Down here, below us, is going to be some meat. I'll go ahead and grab it. And much like in other Castlevania games, that fills your health a little bit. Not 100%, so you do have to be careful. But, oh look, a cross. It's actually a cross in this one, unlike Castlevania 1, which we had just done previously prior to this Let's Play. In the old Castlevania, they, again, Nintendo, well, I don't know if it was so much Nintendo, but a lot of the religious symbology, or symbolism and whatnot was taken out. And so the actual cross was turned into a boomerang. It was literally, you know, four-sided or four even-sided boomerang. Whereas in this, if you look at the picture in the top left-hand corner, you can actually tell it's a cross. One side of it is actually longer than the other three sides. So, although when you do throw it out, it still looks like a boomerang. It's all four sides are even when you throw it out. So it's kind of funny. But yeah, I'd say the cross in this game is the most useful weapon. Well, to me, it's the most useful weapon because, especially on just long vertical segments like this, you can just toss it out, keep walking, toss it out, keep walking, like so. If you have a jump to make, or like a pit to go over, you can toss out the boomerang, jump over the pit, etc., etc. Now we are at the first boss already, and there's actually going to be some more meat here, which is, oops. And that's one thing I like, is that if you pick up the wrong weapon, you have a couple of seconds to pick up the weapon you just had. Which, yeah, is awesome. Very useful. I believe you could, yeah, that was also in the original Dracula X and the Turbo Duo, I'm pretty sure, so. Alright. Now, the axe is actually the better weapon for this boss, I think. Because you notice how high he jumps up, and the axe does this really large curve up into the sky. And, but the boomerang is actually more useful for regular stages, though, overall. So, you know, although the boomerang's actually doing pretty well for me right now. I'm not having too many problems. Yeah, I didn't even get hit. Yeah, last time I played this guy, I got hit a bunch of times when I was trying to do like a little warm-up test run of this game. A couple of weeks ago, I just happened to bust out this game and was playing it for a little while, but looks like I just plowed right through him that time, though. Alright, so we're on the level 2. There is a very minimal amount of stages in this game. It's not a very long game. And realistically, I think it's actually one of the shorter Castlevania games that there is. There is an alternate stage that you can get to. I don't know if I'm going to actually get to it, though. I'm going to try, and I'll point out when I actually get to that part to try to get to it. It's in the next level or two, I think. What I like to do here is toss out the boomerang like this. This can actually be a really tough part. So just keep tossing out your boomerangs. Take it one step at a time, like so. I actually used to die there a lot. So the boomerang really comes in handy there. Or, I'm calling it the boomerang again, because I just did a Let's Play in the first Castlevania where it is called the boomerang. And, no, it's, you want to have the cross there, you know. Well, there's actually something else I want to show you on this stage. This will be the perfect level to show you the example on. And I'll point that out once we get to it. But now, one of the great things about Super Nintendo Dracula X is that it does have some fantastic remixes of classic Castlevania tunes, and that's actually one of the things I've always loved about the series in general, is that the you know, the developers have never been afraid to regurgitate old music. Like, they're like, yeah, we know this music kicks ass, so we're gonna keep giving it to you. It's like, which is awesome. And then you always have brand new music too. It's not like the entire series just focuses around rehashing the same music over and over. It's always, you know, there's always those few tracks that they remake as like a homage to the classic games. And this game has some awesome renditions. Even today, they still hold up really well. The Super Nintendo's sort of sample-oriented sound hardware, I think, really helps it hold up pretty well today. Same could be said for Super Castlevania 4, although that soundtrack is a little more symphonic overall. But this one's a little more rocky, and I guess you could say. Especially the duo version that a lot of these renditions are based on. That was especially rocking. That was a great soundtrack. It was a CD soundtrack, of course, so. Alright, these guys do two main attacks. They either do this sort of 360 swipe that they're doing, or they actually swipe at you. And when they swipe at you, you want to jump away, because they actually reach out pretty far. Now, when they're doing their little 360, you know, spear spin thing, you can actually still hit them. You have to get the distance just right, but you can still hit them from a distance as they're doing that. So, and you'll see more of that as the game progresses, because those guys are very common enemies in this game. And this is actually a good position to show you. I believe it's, I don't remember what it's called. Is it the crash attack, or is it, I don't know. But you press X, and if you have enough hearts, you basically do a super blast with whatever weapon you have. And that is basically the one for the cross, just like so. It's pretty useful, but it does use a lot of hearts. This is actually something I wanted to show you. The next screen is going to be the boss. And you notice I picked up some meat here, and this is actually extremely useful to know. Is if you go out of the screen, through a staircase anyway. If I go to the boss screen, I can't come back. But if I go down the stairs, and notice that the candles are back, if I go back up the stairs, all the candles will be back again, as will the enemies. So if it's a tough section, this might not be that useful. But let's kill these guys, and there you go, the meat is back again. Oh, look at that, you get points. That's actually kind of broken, and I think about it, because you can just keep grinding for points, but this game doesn't have a time limit. So you could theoretically max out at 999,000 points without really any risk. You could probably do it in the first level if you wanted to. That's actually kind of interesting. I never noticed that before. Totally forgot this game had no timer. But that's actually pretty good, because if you just want to jam out to the music, you know, do your dishes while Dracula X music plays in the background or something like that, you can just load up the first level and not even hit start. You don't even have to pause the game, so there's no timer. Okay, that's bad. But yeah, it's very useful to know if you know, if you're having problems with that particular section and you see some meat, just grind that section a little bit. Keep trying it over and over, and keep grabbing that meat as... Now, one of the things about this game that is pretty tough, actually, is... oh, jeez, is that right there. Is when you get hit in this game, there's very little safety. There's like very little of a safety net. You don't really have any invisibility time in this game as you do in some other Castlevania games, which kind of sucks. So, as you saw, I got hit, and then I kept getting hit because I couldn't do anything about it. So that can actually get really, really frustrating. That is one big bat, though, now that I think about it. It's a huge bat. Alright. Well, that was a bit of a shame. I died where I probably shouldn't have died. How many lives do I have left? I'll have to check. Fortunately, you do get unlimited continues in this game. But, you know, as per usual in my Let's Plays, I like to try to beat these games without continuing, so... I don't make any guarantees, but we'll see what happens. Okay, 4 lives. And this level, we've got a cool remix of the Bloody Tears theme. Which, yeah. You know what's funny is I was actually playing a lot of Castlevania 2 last night. I actually beat the game in one sitting. So I heard a lot of Bloody Tears. It's basically the main Daylight theme in that game. And when I think about it, looking back at it, Castlevania 2 really only has like 5 or 6 music tracks total in the entire game. And it's a pretty long game, I mean, by NES standards of that day, especially for the kind of game it is, you know, sort of a non-linear platformer. Yeah, it's got your day theme, it's got your night theme, it's got your mansion theme, it's got your title screen theme, and it's got Dracula's castles, or his lair. It's got that theme, and then it's got the ending theme. That's it. Maybe 6? Was that 6? I think it was 6. I don't know, I lost count, because I'm trying to play and talk at the same time. But yeah, I mean, and most of what you hear in that game is the day and night themes. Oh look, meat. So perfect, another example. Go back up the stairs. Oh, crap, got hit. Not that it matters, because I've got meat. Meat gives you health, apparently, in the video game world. Or at least the Castlevania world. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and grab this stopwatch, just to make my life easier. Sort of like my Castlevania 1 Let's Play, there was a very similar part, and I used the stopwatch. And in this game, it doesn't actually stop time completely. I think it just slows it down. Oops. Well, so much for that. But I definitely want to show you something useful here. And that is one really good thing to know, especially in the final boss, is if you duck in this game and you get hit, you don't get projected back. So you can just purposely get hit and you won't bounce back. You really have to know that on the final boss, because you'll see once we get there. It's actually a pretty tough final boss, and that is something I do have to give it credit for. It does have at least a pretty challenging final boss, and that's actually one of the things I hear a lot of people complain about in this game, is that the final boss is so hard. But I think I have a feeling that a lot of those guys don't know that you can duck and not get projected back when you get hit. And again, I don't want to sort of spoil it yet. We'll wait till I get to him, and you'll understand exactly what I mean. Alright, this is actually the section right here where you can take alternate paths. Now you notice there's a lot of columns. If I fall down in between those columns, I basically fall down to the next level. If I don't, and I manage to get a key and make it all the way across this set of columns, I go to the quote-unquote secret stage. So this is actually a pretty tough part, so we'll see what happens. We'll see what I can do. There's a lot of Medusa heads and whatnot here, so I'm going to try to be careful about it. See, there's a Medusa head. And word to the wise, you probably want to wait for the Medusa heads to come, attack them, then jump. Just like in any other Castlevania game. The key to the Medusa heads in this game, in any Castlevania game, is just patience. I think the Medusa heads kind of get a bad rap as being really, really annoying enemies that make things extremely difficult. And yeah, I don't think they make things that difficult. If you take your time, like this, you just attack one, jump, wait for another one to come, jump, yeah, etc., etc. Just like that. Just like that. This is actually a bit of a tricky part. Whoa. Jump on top of these guys. Oh, man. Damn, so close. Well, so much for that, guys. Yeah, that kind of sucks. The secret level's kind of cool, and it's actually necessary in order to get the appropriate... I don't know if it's the appropriate ending in the game or whatnot. Just like the PC Engine version of this game, you do have a couple characters you want to save in order to get the proper ending. I'm not aiming for perfection here, I just want to get through the game, as usual. But it is nice, you know, if you can do it, because, you know, it is a little more challenging to do. I believe one of those characters you have to save, though, is on the secret stage. So, or the alternate stage. Not really a secret, but it's so tough to get to, it kind of is a secret stage, if you know what I mean. I remember when I first got this game in the 90s, it was, it took me a lot of plays to even realize there was an alternate level, because I kept falling down that area where the columns were, so... And now that I think about it, there's actually an alternate boss as well. Yeah, I believe it's the way you actually fight death right before Dracula's castle. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so we're probably not going to fight death in this playthrough now that I think about it. I'm pretty sure I'm correct about that. I think you have to go the alternate route in order to actually get to death. And if I made it across those columns in that last stage, there would have been another boss as well. He's actually a relatively familiar enemy if you've played some of the Nintendo DS Castlevania games. And of course Dracula X and the Duo, he was in that as well. He was like this really big headless enemy with a lance. I forgot his name, but he actually throws his head, he's got his head in his hand, kind of like the Headless Horseman. And wait, does the Headless Horseman do that? I don't remember. I don't remember. But yeah, he's basically this big dude with a big lance, and you know, he's got his head in his hand, and he tosses it out at you. It homes in and stuff like that. It's kind of annoying, but that would have been the boss I would have fought if I made it across that whole area full of columns. And I believe he's also in the Duo version. Oops, don't want that. And he's also in some other later Castlevania games, such as... actually, no, he might not have been in any of the DS versions. He may have. I don't remember. I know he's in the Xbox Live and PSN Castlevania Harmony of Despair, which is kind of an interesting sort of multiplayer-oriented Castlevania Kind of an interesting game. I should revisit that. It's been a while since I played it, but he is definitely in that game. All right, so we're basically at the boss, and this boss really isn't too bad. So. Now he's actually got two forms. He's gonna fly around, I'm going to attack him, and then he's gonna come back, be a little bit harder. The axe has a really good reach in this game. It's a really solid version of the axe. It's probably actually the most useful axe in any Castlevania game. This and the one in Bloodlines is actually really useful as well. But the one in Bloodlines doesn't go all the way across the screen like this one does. But what is cool about Bloodlines, though, is each special item has an alternate attack. Not a crash attack or anything like that. It's just an alternate attack. Maybe it might use a couple extra hearts, but... so your special items in that game are actually a lot more useful than they are in pretty much any other Castlevania game, because like the axe, you'll toss it up like normal, but the secondary attack will be to toss out 3 mini axes in front of you, and they'll just shoot straight across the screen. So you can cover a wide variety of screen space with the axe in Bloodlines. So stage 5, we're already making pretty good progress. And this level, I think, is where we fight the werewolf. Pretty sure. Yeah, it is, because the next stage is, I believe they used the theme from Castlevania 3, the first stage. The track is called The Beginning. And, yeah. And then after that, we go to Dracula's castle. So... yeah, I think we've only got 2 more stages after this. Just use your axe on these guys if you have it. If you have the boomerang, this part's actually a little more challenging. Because obviously the boomerang doesn't shoot straight up into the air. But, still a great weapon to have, though. The boomerang is the best for, obviously, enemies that are sort of just straight ahead. Do a little backflip there. See, I like these crows is because even though they're sat perched, you can still attack them. Whereas the bats, if they're perched, you can't attack them. You have to wait for them to come out, which is, nah, kind of annoying. Doesn't really make any sense, but... keep jumping on these platforms if you don't want them to break right away. Now this level is another one of those stages, I actually wanted to talk about this earlier on in the episode, but this game I don't think is as well designed as other Castlevania games from the same period, like Super Castlevania 4, Dracula X and the Duo, Bloodlines and the Genesis, because a lot of the stages have very, very similar level design. It'll be, you'll go down a hallway, you'll go down a staircase on the same screen, and then you'll go left, or you'll go the opposite way on the same screen. So it's like, you'll go down a hallway towards the right, go down a staircase, go back the other way to the left. And, you know, this stage is kind of like that a little bit. And it's a lot of the same enemies, a lot of the purple guys with the long spears and whatnot. Looks like they introduced these sword guys. Ooh, yeah, I forgot they have a huge reach. But, you know, a lot of the game's designed in that manner, and, you know, it seemed kind of lazy to me. Games like Super Castlevania 4, you know, even if they had relatively straight stages, they were pretty varied in terms of the enemy and object placement. And this is just kind of like walk left, go downstairs, walk right, rinse and repeat. a bunch of times throughout the whole game. And there's not as much going on in the backgrounds in this game either. There's lots of flat backgrounds, not much animation. Whereas Castlevania 4 and Castlevania Bloodlines had a lot to look at as well. So even in those cases, if the level design was a little basic, you still had a lot to look at and admire from a graphical perspective. There's a lot of detail going on in the backgrounds in those stages. So this game, unfortunately, does not really have that. It has it at a couple points, like the very first level, the flames in the background look really good. But there aren't that many stages that actually have that, so... And make a note, there was some meat right here, so if I happen to take a lot of damage, I can just come right back and grab it again. Now, you can actually hit these guys from below, however, unfortunately, the axe will only hit them once, so it takes a little more time to attack them, but it's definitely the safer way to take them out. Now this part could be a bit of a pain, so I'm going to use my crash attack. You can also hit those guys on top of their head, but you have to wait until they're done doing their little circular swipe. Just like so. And it looks like you can bait him into doing it just by tossing out your whip. Those are the axe armor guys I mentioned in my first Castlevania Let's Play video. Ooh, did not want that. Shit. Back to the axe. I wanted the boomerang. Okay, this should be the boss fight. Yeah. Now this is the werewolf. He's in, well, he's been in a lot of Castlevania games ever since Dracula X and the Duo. He's a pretty frequent enemy in Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and he's also a regular enemy in some of the DS versions of Castlevania. He's gone. Now, it looks like when you use your crash attack, you do have a few moments of invincibility, because I think there was one part in that fight where he just kind of went right through me and I didn't take any damage. So that's really good to know. And what's cool about this game is that I think you actually carry over your heart count from the previous stage, which doesn't happen in the classic Castlevania games. And those old ones, your hearts go back to 0. They're basically tallied up as points, and as a result, they're taken away. But in this, yeah, if you look in the top right-hand corner, I still have 31 hearts. So... Now, I wonder if you're actually going to be able to see those hearts as I'm playing, because they have this really interesting flashing effect going on, and I don't know why they decided to do that, but when things have a tendency to blink like that really fast, sometimes, you know, it doesn't reflect in the video itself. It will in the source file, but once I upload it to YouTube, it won't reflect because YouTube chops out half the frames. So either it's going to kind of look like it's just disappeared, or it's going to look solid or something like that, or it's going to look kind of interesting. So, I mean, again, this is, yeah, second to last stage, so, I mean, again, this game isn't super long or anything like that. They're making pretty good progress. And this is an example of some bad level design as well. Is you're supposed to go all the way to the right, go up, and go all the way back to the left. But if you jump at these platforms, and just jump up, and just jump up, you totally skip this section altogether. And that's some pretty bad level design, if you ask me. I mean, it's kind of fun if you're trying to speedrun the game, but yeah, it's kind of lazy, in my opinion. So, you know, that's one reason why this isn't the perfect Castlevania game to me. I think it's still a great game. I love going back to it and running through it, but it's definitely lacking in some areas. So, unfortunately. Oh. Now, what'll be interesting is me going back and doing Castlevania 3, because whereas Castlevania 2 kind of, you know, strayed off the original formula and went to become sort of more of a non-linear sort of action RPG hybrid. I can't even focus. I'm trying to talk and play. Castlevania 3 went back to the original's roots, and much like this game, it's you know, straightforward platformer. But Castlevania 3 is actually a pretty brutal game, though. It's actually pretty challenging. I don't even think I've. Oops. Ooh, that was close. I don't even think I've actually finished that game since. Ah, crap! Why did I do that? I know better than that. I know this section you have to be really careful. You have to don't jump forward. You have to kind of just jump and. Yeah. But as I was saying, Castlevania 3 is a pretty tough game, so it'll be interesting to see how I do with that once I do that Let's Play. Alright, so we're basically at the boss. You can bust open this wall. Is it an extra life? Is it? Is it? Is it? Yep. Extra life. And this would be an alternate boss fight if I had gotten to the secret stage. Now, I don't remember the name for this specific boss, but if I had gotten to the secret stage and I was successful there, this would actually be, I would be fighting death right now. And obviously I'm not fighting death. Just gonna zap some lasers to the ground. Whoa, it's not a laser. Thought he was supposed to zap some laser to the ground. That probably would have been the next attack pattern had I not destroyed him already, or destroyed it. A lot of bosses in this game have a tendency to do one last little final animation, and sometimes those animations will actually hurt you. Like when the second boss bat explodes, his little mini bats, if you get touched by them, you'll get knocked back. I don't know if it'll actually do damage, but you will get knocked back. Same for that magician boss, or the warlock boss that we fought in the caverns. When he got destroyed, I got hit by something there. And likewise with the werewolf, when he does his little attack on the ground as he dies, you can get hurt, or you can at least get hit by that. I don't know, again, if you take damage or not. So, alright, this should be the final stage. And this is a bit of an interesting final level because you have to go the correct path. And And if you don't, you have to kind of do sections over and over again. So... Now, realistically, I probably should be trying to save my hearts for Dracula, because Dracula is pretty tough on this, and you definitely want to keep your distance, otherwise it makes things really challenging. So right here, if you notice there's this platform up top and a candle. Hey, look at that. I'm going to keep the axe, though. If you go the wrong way, you actually end back up at that top entrance right there. So, and you'll have to come back and do this whole section over and over again. So we'll see what happens there. And you can actually also choose to go that way if you want, because if you notice there was some meat up the top right hand corner of that screen. So, you know, if you take some damage, but you know, you want to get your health back before you fight Dracula, you can go ahead and do that. Got him. Now, one of those columns back there might have been breakable, but I wasn't even going to bother with that. I don't really care that much right now. A little slice of invulnerability. Always good to have. And notice I'm trying to duck just to make sure that if I do get hit by one of the Medusas, I don't get knocked back down below. So, I think this should actually be it. We should be at Dracula already. Although I won't be fighting him with a full health bar, unfortunately. But, so this is what I was mentioning earlier, and why you want to duck against Dracula. As you can probably tell, there's lots of columns, and it's very easy to get knocked down to your death. So, I like to keep... Oh, what the hell? I didn't hit him? Come on. I like to keep my distance and just use the axes. And if you've played Castlevania Symphony of the Night, or the Saturn version, Dracula has a very familiar form here. Or a very familiar set of patterns. Oh my god, why did I do that? That's gonna make things really challenging now. Admittedly, I haven't actually gotten to Dracula here in quite some time. So, yeah. Normally when I do these Let's Plays for a little slightly more challenging games like this, I try to, you know, try to beat them once, or at least get to the final boss. But I did not do that with this Let's Play. I had loaded the game up and played like 2 levels a few weeks back just to play the game. But I did not warm up and play this game before doing this Let's Play. So, my first Castlevania Let's Play, though, I did warm up. I had actually played it that same night before doing that Let's Play. So this is kind of a good spot to be in right here, because I want to be able to hit him with my axe, and I definitely want to get at least 2 hits off of him each time. Now, much like the first Castlevania, he does have 2 forms. And his second form is, you know, in this, it's much like his second form in the original Castlevania. Oh, come on. Same spot, really? He makes us laugh every time he comes out. Whoa! Shoot. Son of a bitch. Okay, see, I'm not even... that was dumb. I like to stay in the corner there. Because when he does attacks like that, and when he's on certain pillars, you can just duck under them. Like so. But instead, I was, yeah, not thinking ahead. I'm gonna try to come all the way over here, see if there's, meat or something. Is that meat? It is meat! Meat. What? Didn't hit him. Come on. Come on, Drac. Good, 3 hits. 2 hits. Just taking my time. This is not a boss fight you want to rush at, I think for obvious reasons so far. Again, a lot of people have complained about this boss fight, saying it's really, really challenging. And it used to be extremely challenging for me until I realized that you can just duck and not get knocked back. And again, you don't have any, you don't have a timer in this game, so it's like, just take your time. You know? If it takes 50 teleports before you can actually kill Dracula, it's like, whatever, you know? Oh, come on. You can't throw a second axe unless the other one had gone out of the screen completely, so that was bad timing on my part. Ay, come on. Come on, why are you not throwing your goddamn axe? That was stupid. The axe is being really unresponsive. Alright, well now that I know there's meat on the left-hand side of the screen, I'll know to grab that by the time I get to his second form. So let's do this again for like the 4th time. There you go, you could do 2 at the same time. What the hell? It's just not being responsive at all. Oh, damn, that was close. Shoot, man. I still have 4 lives, are you kidding me? Oh man. I thought the next one would have been a game over. I must have had like 8 lives when I got to him. That's just unheard of. Okay. Same thing happened in my first Castlevania Let's Play. I had a ton of lives by the time I got to the end of the game. And, yeah. Oh, 3 axes on the screen. It just wasn't being responsive. Ah. There we go. That's where that sort of swipe comes in handy. It's like the quickly tap down as you attack, and you kind of attack straight and down at the same time. So, man, I'm having no luck actually hitting him. Do, 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 do. Come on, teleport over here. I want to finish this. Where is he? That hit did not register at all. Alright, that should be it. Alright, let's try this again. Oh, come on, man! What the hell? That is some BS, dude. That is some total BS. Now, you can actually destroy his fireballs, you know, with your axe, but I'm not thinking that far ahead. So now we gotta do this all over again. Now you can see why this boss could be pretty frustrating for some people. It's just so slow. It's like, it just drags on. Which is why it feels really good if you get here and beat him the first or second time, but by the fifth or sixth time you're just like, can it be over yet? See, this feels a little bit better, and I'm actually making connection with my attacks. I'm getting at least 2 hits every time. And that definitely speeds things up a lot if you can actually get your hits. You know, it's kind of like the very first Castlevania. Really? I'll take it. See, attack him, attack him, attack him. See, that is something I actually did not know. I learned something. Thank you. So apparently, if he just stomps right on top of you, at least on that pillar, you don't get hurt by him. All right. A painful ending to a relatively smooth playthrough overall, I think. I think I died once getting up to that point. I don't remember. So yeah, I think it was a pretty smooth run overall. And I think that was technically the bad ending. Oh, this theme is the title theme from the first Castlevania on Nintendo 64. That game gets a lot of crap, and I think it's a great game. I love the N64 Castlevania games, and that series, or those two games, are very divisive among fans. I think there's actually a lot more people than most people think that actually really enjoy those games. But there's a lot of people that absolutely hate them as well. But probably not going to see a Let's Play in that series. Probably not. I do plan on doing a Let's Play on Castlevania 2, which is actually going to be a long Let's Play. So that's, yeah, I don't think I'm going to do any ones that take longer to beat than that. And Castlevania in the 64 is probably a good 3 to 6 hour long game if you know exactly what you're doing, which I don't these days. It's been a while since I've beaten it, so I thought about doing a Let's Play on Symphony of the Night or Dracula X for the Saturn, but I mean, again, I'm not totally well practiced in those, so what could be a 3.5 hour long Let's Play would probably be like a 4 to 6 hour Let's Play for me if I actually do it. So you're probably not going to see a Let's Play on those, but alright guys, I want to go ahead and just wrap it up here. As usual, I want to say thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing if you're new to my channel, and I'll be back with some more Castlevania Let's Plays very soon, so stay tuned. Until next time guys, take care.